Huawei has made new breakthroughs and is expected to successfully break the foreign chip blockade. Lithography machines are known as the pearls in the pyramid and spire fields of modern science and technology. They refer to scientific and technological projects that are similar to the difficulty of research and development of modern atomic bombs. ASML is the only company in the world that has the road process for high-precision EUV lithography machines, and now good news is frequently exposed, which is expected to break the technical barriers of lithography machines and eliminate the blockade of foreign chips. Welcome to subscribe to Silicon Dragon. We are a YouTube channel focusing on chip technology. We will bring you the latest technology information on the technology war between China and the United States. The research and development process of photolithography machines almost occupies many sophisticated technologies in the field of modern science and technology. Without a complete science and technology industry chain, production cannot be achieved. Just to produce a lithography machine, 3 technical difficulties need to be overcome, namely dual worktables and ultraviolet light sources, as well as thousands of exclusive customized parts. The start of China's lithography machine research and development can be traced back to the 1960s. At that time, the subject was still called integrated circuit research. However, later road companies were affected by low price dumping by foreign companies and pursued immediate benefits, resulting in China's semiconductor industry. The decline of industry. Huawei is undoubtedly a rebel of the times, whether it invested hundreds of millions of yuan to continue the research and development of Kirin chips, or launched Hongmeng, the third largest operating system comparable to Android and iOS, and recognized the independent nature of its own technology. It still continues to innovate. It also achieved patents for reflectors, lithography devices and their control methods, breaking through the level of ASMS lithography machines in the Netherlands. When China was just developing, the United States banned ASML from selling lithography machines to China in order to restrict China, since it could not rely on the import of large amounts of equipment and materials. It could only overcome the various suppressions by the United States on its own. It was nothing more than wanting to expand the United States. The technological gap with China is locked in what they consider to be a safe level. Therefore, under this model, China has relied on its own technology to continuously develop and successfully opened up the road to domestically produced chips. China's semiconductor import business in the first half of this year. But if China wants to further improve, the most important thing is to build Chinese lithography machines. Huawei can also make chips, which is strange. Without technology, there will always be suffering from the cowardice of the United States. Don't worry, the global chip industry is now divided into 3 major parts. There are no problems with design and packaging and testing for the time being. The problem lies in manufacturing. China has been unable to produce high-end chips in recent years. One of the biggest reasons is that our chip lithography machine technology is still in a backward stage. Moreover, this technology has been ignored. These capital giants are hiding their faces and crying. They were unable to open their doors, which once led to the worst profits for the major chip giants. The original 2 major customers were Huawei and Apple. Under the mutual restraint of the 2 fat chickens, they evolved to check and balance each other, and even directly packaged themselves to the United States. In fact, the attitude of the United States has always been like this. It is just to control its opponents. If Huawei continues to let it grow at its current progress rate, it will definitely develop to the United States in the future and we will admit defeat. But in fact, for us in China, we must choose to develop lithography machines at all costs. So how difficult is it to manufacture lithography machines? Since Huawei was completely blocked by the United States from lithography machines, there have been many voices in China saying that they will not provide machines. That being said, the manufacturing process of a photolithography machine actually involves dozens of parts from all over the world, and the research and development difficulty is comparable to that of an atomic bomb. The patented technology currently applied by Huawei is still in the design stage, and there is still a big gap between it and the current ASML technology. To achieve smaller precision, we have to solve the problem of the light source, which is actually to draw the light into very thin lines. The difficult thing is how to achieve more precise photolithography. For example, on a 14-nanometer photolithography machine, the reflection of ultraviolet rays needs to reach 50,000 times per second. If there is a slight error, the entire product will be scrapped directly. The working environment for manufacturing lithography machines is also very harsh. According to statistics, the number of parts inside ASML's lithography machines is hundreds of thousands. The optical equipment integrated with the top technologies of the technological powerhouse is from Japan, and the lenses are from the German Zeiss company. In terms of production, it is extremely difficult to break through the difficulty on your own, and it is not an easy task. In this way, it is indeed more difficult than we imagined to break through high-precision lithography machines. There are many friends who have been studying the topic of integrated circuits without knowing it. In 1980, China had developed a 3000-nanometer precision projection, and in 1985 it broke through the distributed projection lithography machine. Then the question arises, why? Now we are stuck in the West. In fact, the biggest problem is cost. At that time, China's economy was weak, so a lot of money was spent, and its importance at that time was incomparable. This also led to the suspension of lithography machine research. The rise of China has caused Western countries to feel pressure, so we have been unable to make some major breakthroughs in the field of lithography machines. Well, many people don't understand this time, with the pressure from the United States. Can Huawei really handle the lithography machine? If the lithography machine is so complex, Huawei will definitely not be able to build it. That's not what they say. The future must be smooth. The manufacturing process of photolithography machines is complicated, but Huawei's potential is not small at all. Ren Zhengfei has a very strong crisis. For a while, it was precisely because he understood the urinary nature of the United States that he planned to prepare spare tires in advance. For example, after the patent war between Huawei and Cisco in 2004, they had already begun to build the Hongmeng system. Huawei can quickly respond to the magic attacks of the United States. Huawei can withstand Western artillery shells at any time. What new technologies has Huawei brought this time? According to the latest news, after Huawei was subject to chip restrictions in the United States, it has been working with other companies to jointly develop nationally produced photolithography machines to promote the independent production of China's chip industry. A patent related to EUV lithography controlled by a reflection lithography device has been exposed. This is a method that produces uneven light when the lithography machine is exposed to a strong light source, and has to perform lithography, which will also cause very obvious effects. The change of light and dark is what photographers often call the yin and yang phase. Where can we steal from? If we talk about stealing, it can only be stolen from us, by you, which directly silenced the American experts. With the continuous development of China's modern scientific and technological power, China is no longer afraid of the so-called chip bill of the United States, even if it controls the world's most advanced lithography machine company. What's more, under the current situation, ASMA of the Netherlands, the company's sales of lithography machines to China are enough to show that there is no doubt that this is inseparable from the hard work of Chinese scientists and their day and night research spirit. Huawei has successively achieved breakthroughs in lithography machine technology. The relationship between the United States and ASML is becoming increasingly tense. In the future, China may lift chip restrictions and achieve independence in the semiconductor field. However, it must also beware of low-price dumping by ASML and undermine the efficiency of local companies. Remember that only it owns the core technology. The debut of China's 7nm Dragon Eagle 1 chip can be said to be a more eye-catching one. This is China's first 7nm car-grade smart cockpit chip. Although China has made great progress in many technological fields over the past few decades, its development in the chip field is still relatively lagging. with the Netherlands ASML almost dominating the market. From a historical perspective, China once did not pay enough attention to the chip field and focused more on introducing technology from other countries. However, China has realized the importance of powerful unknown systems in developing its own chip industry. Especially as Sino-US trade frictions intensify recently, China has realized that developing its local chip industry is the key to getting rid of external pressure. China's chip manufacturing system is moving from low-end to high-end. There are huge challenges because there are deficiencies in manufacturing equipment. It is not just a problem with individual equipment such as EUV and lithography machines, but the entire independent production line lacks actual production experience. There are two main problems in China's development of domestic chip manufacturing equipment. On the one hand, it is difficult to overcome the physical limit of technical problems, and on the other hand, it is unable to integrate into the mainstream European and American markets, resulting in domestic chips being stuck. Although companies such as Huawei have mastered the ability to design advanced chips, they are stuck in the United States because they have no manufacturing experience. The most advanced process currently mastered in China is 14 nanometers. In this regard, TSMC founder Zhang Hongmao also made no secret of saying that mainland China is 5 or 6 years behind TSMC in chip manufacturing technology. This is a fact, but in terms of product research and development, domestic manufacturers have achieved many breakthroughs. In addition to Huawei, there are many companies that have mastered the ability to develop advanced chips of 7 nanometers and above. For example, the Longyingshan No. 1 chip developed by Zinking Technology and Alibaba Yishan 710 use the 5 nanometer process. Further down, there are no products made by mainland manufacturers. China 4 officially announced that it is equipped with the Dragon Eagle 1 chip. At the same time, China 4 Hui, Katong Technology and Zinking Technology have cooperated to build an intelligent cockpit platform based on the Dragon Eagle 1, which will be applied in the field of smart cars, and will contribute to the promotion of domestic smart car automation. A solid foundation has been laid for the development of driving and other technologies. From the perspective of the chip itself, Dragon Eagle 1 is not simple. It has high-performance adaptation to software and hardware. It has various flagship-level configurations such as 8-core CPU and 14-core GPU. It is said to be the world's top 7 nanometers domestic chip. Makes sense. This chip is expected to be installed on a Chinese car model by the end of this year, and consumers will have the opportunity to experience it for themselves. The news about the debut of the 7 nanometer Dragon Eagle 1 chip is actually true. Zinking Technology has completed the Dragon Eagle 1 chip. This chip is still in the leading position in the field of domestic car-grade chips and can benchmark Chinese smart cars, international advanced products. The reason why Dragon Eagle 1 can go from road to mass production so quickly is inseparable from the support of its strong road strength. Its innovative strength comes from a management team with international strategic undertakings and an road team with successful experience in high-end server chip development. Can completely provide all core processor chips from traditional automotive electronic architecture to next-generation intelligent connected automotive electronic architecture. According to Wang Kai's previous disclosure, Longying 1's mass production plan is 500,000 pieces in 2022 and 1 million pieces in 2023, with plans to double every year. Huawei chip stacking breaks through 7 nanometers. There is widespread news about 7 nanometers chips in the industry, as well as Huawei chip stacking technology. It is estimated that many people have heard of this news. It is rumored that 2 14 nanometers chips can be restacked and combined to become a 7 nanometers chips. Such news and rumors have always existed. In March 2023, news came out in the industry that Huawei's chip stacking exceeded 7 nanometers. Time has become noisy. Has Huawei developed chip stacking technology? What is the real situation? It is called chip stack packaging structure and packaging method thereof. The patent for electronic equipment was published on May 6, 2022, which shows that Huawei has been studying chip stacking for a long time. But the real situation is different from what everyone imagined. Huawei may adopt a multi-core structure chip design. Note that Guoping's term is multi-core structure, which is a multi-core architecture implemented using software process technology, rather than two chips superimposed together to achieve a greater chip breakthrough. If the superposition of two 14 nanometers chips can really achieve 7 nanometers performance, it would be enough to directly superimpose two 4 nanometers chips. However, TSMC has not done this, which shows that this is not an ideal solution. Therefore, the news that Huawei's chip stacking exceeded 7 nanometers is false news. Even if chip stacking technology does exist, it is not as outrageous as the rumors in the industry. The Chinese are looking forward to frequent good news from Chinese chips, so there is one more the hope of breaking the situation. There are indeed some incidents in China regarding the breakthrough of 7 nanometers chips. The 7 nanometer process is the current development of YC technology. It is a new generation process that transcends most technology, and the area of the entire chip is also smaller. First, let's understand what the 7 nanometers process is. The 7 nanometer process is the theoretical limit of semiconductor chip manufacturing technology. The nanometer level refers to the size of its line width, which is almost double that of the previous generation 14 nanometer process. This means that the number of transistors on a single chip has reached an unprecedented level, allowing the correlation between electronic components to be distance locked, thereby increasing the speed and performance of the entire chip. Secondly, 7 nanometers imaging has also made great breakthroughs in terms of power consumption. Compared with the previous generation 14 nanometers process, the 7 nanometers process can reduce power consumption by optimizing the chip architecture and transistor design, use insulating material instead of silicon dioxide in the drum to reduce unnecessary power loss. These improvements help the chip process data more efficiently when performing tasks, and improve battery life, allowing mobile phones, computers and other mobile devices to run longer without lagging, because the line widths of the 7 nanometers process are smaller than before. This means that the overall chip size is also smaller, which is critical for devices that require less computing power and smaller form factors. In addition, the smaller size allows chip designers to better utilize space, further enhancing the chip's performance and efficiency. Finally, the 7 nanometer process may be one of the mainstream chip manufacturing technologies in the future because it can achieve higher performance, lower power consumption and smaller size in all aspects of the chip, and the cost is also relatively reasonable. In the future, the application fields of 7 nanometer chips will continue to expand, such as artificial intelligence, big data analysis, cloud computing and other fields. These fields require greater computing power and higher speed to support their needs. The emergence of the 7 nanometer process is an important progress in the chip manufacturing industry. It can not only provide higher performance, but also provide new solutions for chip design in emerging fields. However, for chip manufacturers, they must effectively respond to challenges to meet market and consumer demand. The 7 nanometer process is one of the most advanced chips currently made. It not only has major breakthroughs in performance, power consumption and size, but also brings new ideas and technical routes to future chip manufacturing technology. Since the CHIPS Science Act issued by U.S. Semiconductor last year, the U.S. ban on the Chinese semiconductor market has been escalating and increasing. It is unable to provide high-end chips and production equipment to customers in the mainland market, and it has also cooperated with semiconductor companies in the Netherlands, Japan, and South Korea to surround the mainland market. A technological game has pushed us into a confrontation with American semiconductors. However, the American Semiconductor Association officially stated that despite the so-called safety issues in American semiconductors in the past, American semiconductor companies cannot be absent from the Chinese market. This attitude can correspond to the United States personally admitting that Fan Lin Group and others have excessively misunderstood the chip ban. What they want is also very simple, that is, domestic semiconductor companies in the United States should forcefully enter the Chinese market, but personally, American companies under the chip ban cannot stand up in the process of economic recession in the United States. The chip ban will only worsen the living conditions of American semiconductor companies again. Many people believe that many American companies have experienced a storm of layoffs, reducing costs and expenses. Partly as a result, Intel posted its largest single-quarter loss in history. What's even worse for Micron is that its loss in the second quarter of 2023 was as high as $2.3 billion, its largest quarterly loss in 20 years. But this is not just because of the chip ban. The shipment ranking of U.S. semiconductors in the mainland market exceeds that of Korean semiconductors, regardless of why they severely banned the mainland market. Only with this data we can see that the current winter in the United States is not directly related to the mainland market. So even if it enters the Chinese market forcefully, I am afraid that American semiconductors should find their own economic reasons. Working behind closed doors has basically become a foregone conclusion for American semiconductors. It is necessary to enter the Chinese market. But for so-called security considerations, there is not much chance of change due to the layers of restrictions. What's more, now that they have secured the position of Korean semiconductor, they are unlikely to give up their efforts for so long. The example of Huawei is already clear and we can see how much it has changed. In this case, they will still use blocking advanced semiconductor manufacturing equipment, production technology, etc. as the main means, that is, American semiconductors should work behind closed doors, especially in the capital-intensive chip industry chain industry. U.S. semiconductors have shut down these U.S. companies, which means they need to face increased road costs and a virtuous cycle that is difficult to respond to. The Chinese market is an important participant in the global semiconductor supply chain. After the supply chain is partially disconnected, the global semiconductor supply chain will be affected to a certain extent, not to mention the U.S. semiconductor industry. Not overestimating the impact of mainland China's market share is a clear understanding that we should have, and it is also a clear understanding that American companies should have. Seizing the mainland market can only solve some urgent needs. What can truly realize recovery from the cold winter is the return of global semiconductors to a harmonious state. Otherwise, Bloomberg revealed a major piece of news. The U.S. Semiconductor Association expressed different views on the Chinese market, and the collective divestment of U.S. companies in mainland China may have a new turning point, affected by chip regulations and semiconductor bans. Media companies investing in mainland China have withdrawn their investment. Since last year, they have been laying off some teams in Beijing, Shanghai, and Chengdu. Now it is announced that all technical teams and departments in China will be laid off. Apple CEO Cook also plans to direct more investment to the Indian market. Its official foundry Foxconn is gradually transferring its $300 billion production capacity to India and has been building factories in India. Instead, the new U.S. regulations are escalating step by step, forcing restricted companies to make adjustments. If the products developed by semiconductor manufacturer Marvell in China involve advanced processes, their sales to the mainland are almost completely wiped out because the United States does not provide export licenses. This can be described as a blow to American manufacturers, because no company is willing to cling to mature technology without giving up the mainland market, or give up the future of the company. Obviously, Marvell and Foxconn chose the former, but there are still some American companies that are willing to take the wrong path. For example, Nvidia and Intel provide special edition products to the mainland. How long can this situation last? Some time ago, someone proposed that Xiaomi make a small screen mobile phone, but this decision was quickly rejected because the product was too niche. The same is true for the special edition products of American companies, whether it is emasculating some performance or lowering the level of manufacturing processes. Despite U.S. agencies' concerns about security, U.S. semiconductor companies still want to enter the Chinese market. And we're not the only industry saying that, said John Neuver, the group's president and CEO. He believes that the United States needs to enter this market, and even stated that the priority of national security should be decided by the government and that it is none of their business. Regarding the development of new industries in the United States, he hopes to invest in semiconductor companies that build factories in the United States, because one of the additional conditions of the new U.S. subsidy bill prohibits these companies from investing in mainland China. Obviously, he does not want to see the death of free trade, although he cannot deny the United States' determination to build a local chip industry. They have put in place many restrictions to restrict the development of new American industries. Nerf, chairman of the American Semiconductor Association, believes that this is wrong. Foreign media believe that this idea is unrealistic and almost impossible to achieve. The situation on the mainland will not stop when American companies divest. The analysis of foreign media is not unreasonable. In the future, the chip world will be one type of chip and two specifications of chips. Globalization is dead, although the losses after supply cuts are visible to the naked eye, are enough to illustrate its determination. The proposal of the chairman of the Semiconductor Association is useless. In order to avoid stuck situations, China has embarked on an independent research and development path, is accelerating the process of localization substitution, and reducing the number of imported chips. The impossible answer from foreign media not only destroys the expectations of American companies, but is also the best answer to the outcome of the U.S. chip ban. First, the U.S. government has taken such a big move to show that they can no longer tolerate the continued development of Chinese science and technology. Even if they lose such an important trade market, they will try to hinder the development of Chinese science and technology as much as possible. Second, the contradiction between China and the United States continues to deepen. To put it simply, the United States has always been hostile to China and does not want China to develop further. However, China will not ignore the obstruction of the United States, and will continue to develop in a multifaceted manner. In this way, the contradiction between the two will be irreconcilable, and the United States will become increasingly aggressive, become bigger. Third, the Chinese government has already had countermeasures against the restrictive policies of the United States. China has always been aware of the United States' small moves to suppress China's development. Therefore, while conducting trade with the United States, the Chinese government has been doing its best to support China's semiconductor research. This year, there have been obvious results, and American chips have found alternatives. Fourth, the Chinese people's spirit of self-improvement. China has experienced various development situations. Only by truly owning its own industry can it not be restricted by other countries. The actions of the United States will only make it more desperate than China to develop independent chips. Although China's semiconductor industry has made some achievements, it still has a long way to go before China can have higher tech semiconductor products. The first thing that everyone thinks of must be the United States, as the country with the largest concentration of talents in the world. The United States' scientific and technological strength naturally ranks first in the world. The United States relies on its highly developed scientific and technological strength, which also includes China. For example, the chip ban and the photolithography machine ban are all bad tactics used by the United States against China. Just recently, Japan also issued a chip ban against China. Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry announced on the 23rd that export restrictions targeting 23 semiconductor manufacturing technologies will officially take effect on July the 23rd. After the U.S.-China trade war blocked China's chip channels, policies such as strategic wafer materials and key component export control systems were implemented at the G7 summit, thereby restricting the export of 23 key chip manufacturing equipment. Although Japan's relevant regulations do not name China, some public opinion believes that its lethality may be even more lethal than the United States. The Japanese government has also proposed to adopt an approval system for some companies that purchase technology products such as semiconductors, and to control the transfer of technology in some fields, including electronic storage. Nikkei Chinese website pointed out that the 23 categories include manufacturing equipment and etching equipment for extreme ultraviolet and EUV-related products. British media revealed that if China wants to avoid the negative impact of the chip prison built by the United States and Japan, it will need to make greater efforts in independent research and development in the semiconductor field. There are three mainstream lithography machine manufacturers in the global market, namely ASML of the Netherlands, Canon and Nikon of Japan. The market shares of these three equipment are 82%, 10%, and 8%. However, when Japan wanted to sanction China, China launched a counterattack against Japan, poking at Japan's weakness. Japan has always been a staunch ally of the United States, perhaps because it was defeated in World War I, so it began to cling to the United States decades ago. When China and the United States launched sanctions some time ago, Japan was willing to act as a pawn for the United States. Even at the recently held G7 summit, Japan made rude remarks and interfered with China. However, before China could settle its accounts with Japan, Japan took the initiative. At the beginning of this year, the United States signed a tripartite agreement with Japan and the Netherlands. Most of the tripartite agreements were aimed at restricting the development of Chinese semiconductors. We only paid attention to the trends of ASML in the Netherlands, but never paid attention to the trends in Japan. The attention was really shocking. Although Japan has followed the United States in doing many bad things over the years, it only dares to make verbal attacks. Japan seems to have understood the meaning of the United States. It not only made a fuss about China on the restrictions on photolithography machines, but also imposed restrictions on China in 23 categories such as etching, cleaning and film forming. Japan's Nikon and Canon were once expected to become like the Dutch ASML because of the US sanctions. On the other hand, China has been supporting semiconductors. Nikon and Canon have always been big donors since these 2 days. But Japan is actually ungrateful. It has expanded the scope of its attacks on China and is eager to impose sanctions on all its areas of expertise. Thank you very much for watching, and we hope the information we have provided will be helpful to you. If you have cutting-edge information you would like to know, please leave us a message.